Good. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Comparison?
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic. So today we will be talking about competing against Turf Tank, which is, I believe everybody knows, is by far our biggest competitor. And the thing is that the things we'll go through is, first of all, the first point of the agenda is from the, as we say in Danish, from the horse's own mouth, that how is it to work with the Turf Tank? How do they work with it? How is challenges, etc. We will go through the battle deck, which is more like a comparison of the technology and the performance of the two robots. So just need to access somebody out, and then we will go through that and see how are we actually on a one-on-one against Turf Tank. We will discuss also what we call the bitter fruits, the bad mouthing coming out from Turf Tank when we are going out to do a demo, and Turf Tank were there before us. What did they say about our products? What are we competing against? What is the pre-given attitude from them to our customer? And also then we'll go through preparing for the perfect demo. And I have Kostas with me. Kostas is our very good sales manager. He came in from Turf Tank on January 1st. So his knowledge about their products, the method of working, the software, etc., is pretty new. But he has also done, maybe not hundreds, but close of demos in Denmark with some of you guys, so he can compare very easy towards them. So Kostas, if you will get started.
Just a second. We just need to allow somebody in. So, yeah, so working with the Turf Tank for the last year, or I did last year, there are some points I want to take you through. I think most of you knows about them, but then again, I'll just go quickly through them. And of course, if you have any questions, just ask. One of the things that, of course, that comes to mind, the first thing is that now you have, working with the Turf Tank, you have three devices. You have the robot, the tablet, and the base station. And that gives you, of course, three things to charge. It gives you a maximum of 4 hours of driving. And if you want, for example, to drive for more than 4 hours doing, for example, an American football field, you need an extra battery or some kind for the base station. And that's done by cable, and it's pretty annoying to do. So that is one thing you can use against them. You need, of course, a lot of preparation. You need to pick a spot for the base station. The base station needs to be in line of sight of the robot at all times when it's driving. And of course, if you have a big field or a big place where you have maybe 18, 20 fields, you need to place the base station in multiple sites. So you need to move it a lot, and you need to use a lot of time on preparation with the base station. I don't know if a lot of you have seen the software from Turf Tank, but if you have worked with it, you know that it's quite complicated. It's made by engineers to drive a robot. It's not made for the guys working with the robot. It's made to drive the robot around. So on initial setup with a new customer, I used typically 1 or 2 days in total to do all the preparations, lay out all the fields with them, show them how to use the robot, teach them the software, teach them how the robot thinks, why it's driving like it is, and everything. And even after these 1 to 2 days of initial setup, I needed to revisit most of the customers 2 weeks after, because yeah, basically they forgot most of it. So it's a lot of time, a lot of preparation, and a lot of setup. Um, you can only do a field layout as it is now with the robot. You know, like with our robot, you can put a field on a map. That's not possible with a turf tank. You always need to prep to do this flag 1, flag 2, and move the field afterwards, calculate how wide the field is. It's a little bit more complicated than putting out a field with a tiny. So you don't have the map overview. They say they have it, but most of the time it's not working. And you need to, if you want the map overview to work with the turf tank, you need to download something beforehand to have it working. And most of the time it's not working. As I said before, the software is made by engineers. It's not made by users. It's not made with customers. It's just engineers teaching how to operate a robot. If you've seen the robot, you know it's heavy. You know it's almost 60 kilograms, and you can't pick that up by yourself, or you're not allowed if you're hired. If you're a volunteer, it's another thing. But it's quite heavy. You need a ramp if you need it to move it with your car. And of course, with the heavy weight comes a lot of disadvantages. It gets stuck often because of the weight. If you have a muddy or soft field, it creates a lot of problems for you. It will get stuck because with paint, it's above 80 kilograms, and that's most fields won't handle that with these small tires. It will simply dig into the ground. The robot doesn't fit through a normal door, so a lot of people have problems with storage. A simple thing, but if you need to store the robot and it's you don't need it to go bad or anything, you need to store it in a storage outside or in the house. You simply can't get it through a normal door, so you need to do some remodeling to fit a turf tank in your facility. After the training, normally it would only be the trained personnel that's really capable of operating the robot. It's quite difficult for them to teach co-workers how to use the robot. So normally it's only 1 or 2 guys who knows how to use it, and that creates a lot of problems at the facility normally. And of course, one of the new things we have added to our robot with the logos, if you want to do a logo with a turf tank, you need it done by engineers, and the price starts at 1,200 euros, or like $1,400 to do a logo, and the normal delivery time is 1 month for this. So this is just some of the basic things I've written down, and you're welcome to ask questions if you have any. Of course, we have a lot of other things we're going through, so you can see all the details with the weight and the size and everything. But feel free if you have any questions. Nope. Sorry?
With the new software they released, are they able to do the fields easier, or?
Well, we haven't seen the software yet, so I have no idea. They were working on it last year, and it was supposed to be done by the fall of last year, and then it was postponed to April, and then it was postponed to August, and we still haven't seen it. So they're talking about a new software, but the problem with the software is, for the first, one of the things is that it's not going to run on the old robots. We have heard from several customers who asked Turf Tank, okay, we bought a robot last year, can we get the new software? And the answer was no. So we are still waiting to hear if it's going to be possible, because they said it would be. If it's going to be possible, how much is it going to cost? Because if they have 1,000 robots driving around with old software, I don't think that's going to benefit anyone. But we have no idea how the layout or everything is done. The things we've seen online is pretty much a copy of our software. So, but that's how it is.
Another point you might let the guys know. The batteries only last, the painting batteries in the unit themselves, they will last 3 hours. But if you're painting, 2 hours is the most I ever got out of one. Maybe 2 hours and 15 minutes before it went under under 25%, and once it's under 25%,
Yeah,
the robot can't communicate with the base station. It's too far away, and it starts losing communication. So it'll stop and start and stop and start. So
yeah.
Even with their 2 batteries, you're not the same amount of time as one of ours.
Yeah, and you need to take paint and everything out to exchange the batteries. So it's
You
really, yeah, it's really difficult to operate. Yeah, I totally.
You definitely do.
Yeah. Anyone else? Okay, and we'll quickly go to the decks. Just a second. There it is, and Carsten will take over.
Thank you very much, Costas. Yes, you're absolutely right. Now we will go deeper into the technical details of the 3 robots in the market here. First of all, the weight. What does the weight mean for the customer? Since the Sport is less than half the weight of the turf tank, it is very easy for anybody to move it from area to area in a standard trunk. All of us knows that. The turf tank is very heavy, and for muddy fields, it will very easily get stuck. So, and we have our heavy duty Pro X, which is 35 kilos, is still a one-man job to handle it. The size we will come back to in a moment, because we have some pictures of that. For the driving speed, all 3 robots has 3 different driving speeds, and since our robots are actually faster, 1.5 meter per second, where the turf tank is only going 0.8, we are actually a faster robot. For the transport, which I mentioned a moment ago, it's for the Sport, it's a low weight, very easy to lift with our 2 handles. The turf tank, it needs 2 men to lift. It has very inconvenient handles with sharp edges, which is not very comfortable for let's say elderly people to move it around. And then what Jim mentioned here is that we stand extremely strong with our operation hours. That means you don't need to go back and charge the batteries. The fields can be far away, so it's a really strong asset. And what Jim explained here, we run 5 hours of actually spraying out there, and if the turf tank is only doing 2 hours, something that the customer should really be mindful of. If we look at the accuracy here, it is exactly the same. They use the base station technology, and they often claim that it's a much more accuracy technology, which it is not. You can see it here. They need a base station. The paint capacity is 20 liter on the turf tank. There they have an advantage compared to us, but we have also heard that it is actually damaging the wheel motors carrying so much paint. And with almost 60 kilos plus 20 liters of a paint plus batteries, we are way above 80 kilos. And in long wet grass or in muddy fields, is a huge disadvantage. Then, as most of you probably know, is that we have launched our custom logos. That means that you can buy a feature where the customer uploads their own logo files, and they can go out and print their own logos. This is not possible for the turf tank, and it's an enormous benefit. They need to pay normally around 1,200 euros for each logo. We have the low paint alert, which is really a game changer, that the customer will get an alarm when there's only 1 liter of paint on both the Sport and the Pro X. That is not possible on the turf tank at all. Any questions so far? It's good. Then we will go to the next one. I would like you guys to take a closer look at this picture. I think most of us, we talk to the customers about that the turf tank is much larger, etc. And it is. As you can see here, if you, for instance, compare to the Sport, it is very easy to understand why it can't drive through a door, why 2 men need to handle it. It can't make the sharp turns as we can do with our 3 wheels. And it is very space consuming, and you simply need a van. Does anybody can share some experience with the inconvenience of a customer that has mentioned the inconvenience of the turf tank size and weight from the market? No? Okay.
Carson, I hear about it all the time. And I also experienced it. I used to have to load the turf tank by myself into the back of my truck. They bought all of us ramps, but no one really feels comfortable running a $50,000 machine up a ramp at the speed that, it doesn't have a slow speed really. So, you got to be pretty confident what you're doing just to make sure you get up the ramp. The other thing that I ran into a lot was I've got a couple people who had to actually put they actually had to put a lift in the back of their truck, or a Tommy lift, something like that, because they do weigh about 136 pounds. So yeah, you can get it through a door, by the way, but you have to put the sprayer through first and then turn the back, and it takes 2 guys to get it through the door. You can do it, but it's not going to fit straight through. But yeah, I hear about it a lot because of the weight of the unit and the size. The other issue is the size and the turning radius. Because of the size of it, it can't do the sharp little corners we can do.
Totally agree. Another thing I ran into a couple of times is that, especially people working for the municipality councils or similar, they are only allowed to lift 25 kilos. The Sport is 24 kilos, so they can lift it. 2 guys can lift the Pro, and there will be less than 25 kilos for each. But for the turf tank, no way it's going to go below the 25 kilos for each person, and then they're actually not allowed to lift it. So that is another benefit by our robots.
I was just going to say, Carlston, can you hear me? This is Curtis.
Hey, Curtis. Yes, I hear loud and clear.
Well, 2 women are currently using the robots, and they like it because they themselves can lift the robots.
Very good. That is a good point. Anybody can lift it. Anybody can operate it. Another strong feature we have is that all our fields are stored in the cloud, which actually means that if a customer has more than 1 robot, they can take any robot out to do a specific field. If they do a change on the field, move it or make it shorter, wider, any change, it will be stored and also registered when you take out the other robot. For the turf tank, that is not possible because all the fields are stored on the robot itself. So that means that you cannot, unless you take it out on a USB stick back to a laptop into the next robot, you cannot share it. And then it's not automatically updated when you are out doing changes with one of the robots. Then it's not updated in the other one. If the robot is lost, then you lose everything. So if it breaks down, the fields might need to be copied from one robot to another, if that is possible, or from the USB drive if you have saved it there. So we have a lot of benefits by using the cloud. If our tablet, for instance, falls into the lake and is damaged, then the customer can actually just take another tablet connected to the robot in the software, and then they can actually operate it So for that one, it's a really strong proof here that our system is much more up to date. For this turf tank setup, I would call it a little old technology, and that's definitely a point you can push a little bit. There's a reason they didn't make it any further over the 6 years here. So overall, what are our strengths? We have an extremely user-friendly software. That means that for the dealers and the sales, what I've heard from customers is, yeah, when they go and do the commissioning with the customer, they are there a full working day, sometimes 1.5, and then need to come back like 2 weeks later to do a wrap up because they forgot the most. We normally do 2 or 3 hour training to our customers, and then they can actually operate the robot, and it's pretty easy for them to teach to other staff or other volunteers in the club. So that means that no expert knowledge is actually needed. Again, anybody can operate it, no matter if they are youngsters or they're grounded up into the 80s. Training in 1 to 2 hours, that's actually something we normally do for free. This is a benefit from the end user. When Turf Tank often charges the customer 1,200 euros for a training on that. And again, what we said before, size matters. It's a one-man job, so easy to operate, easy to handle. Any questions? Anything to add here? Cool. See, here are some of the points that Turf Tank is often highlighting in the market. That weights create stability. What I mentioned before is that first of all, because of the weight, it easily gets stuck. Also with the small plastic wheels, you can have some advantages if it's wet but solid. But on other surfaces, it's clearly a disadvantage. And again, when you're turning, maneuvering, it cannot turn as sharp as our 3-wheelers can, and also because it is more heavy, it needs more space. And I know in some markets where the fences, etc., obstacles are pretty close to the fields, it's impossible to use a turf tank. Also, very often when there's running tracks nearby, so that can be from the curbs, can be a challenge. Then they make it a benefit that there's 4 wheels instead of 3. With 4 wheels on an uneven surface, 1 wheel will always be floating, and that gives a worse accuracy on the lines. And for the turning, it's definitely not an advantage. For the base station, we mentioned before that the accuracy, they mention very often that it makes it more because the fixed point is closer, but that is actually not true. If we are within reasonable distance to the masts, we have the same accuracy as they have with the base station. What I mentioned before is that the turf tank was developed 6 years ago, and what we have seen, many of the components, etc., is still the same. So since the design has not been updated and changed, the components are expensive to exchange, and that's a thing we hear more and more in the market. And that is everything from the pump, from the wheels, whatever base station. The parts are insanely expensive to exchange. We are cheaper with our spare parts, so the maintenance cost over the 6 years of period, we normally calculate the lifespan 5 to 6 years. Ours are much cheaper to maintain. The parts are also much easier to exchange physically. So yeah, faster, better, more updated. We have developed everything in-house, so that also means that every knowledge we need to share with the customer, with the market, the end users, we know here. We can support you better in that way, so we can just walk into the next room and have somebody that really knows in case we are in doubt. We have 2 tailor-designed robots, so we want to cover both the blue ocean market, which is the clubs, the areas where they maybe are not so strong financially, that most should be able to afford the robot. We have made a robot that is easy to move around for anybody. We have made a robot that is that fits in small spaces, but also runs very smooth on strong surfaces. We have a heavy-duty product with the big wheels that drive through wet, muddy fields with big branches falling on the ground, a lot of leaves, water pots. So here we have not a one-size-fits-all, but we have a product that is special designed for each customer. So here we can actually cover wider. For the base station, it's a huge disadvantage that it needs to be located exactly at the same point every time. If you move the base station 1 meter to the left or to the right, you move all the fields by the same distance. And if you don't know where it was the first time, you need to put in all the fields one more time. And with their methods of placing in with 2 flags, etc., it takes forever. So, any questions for that?
Hey, Karsten.
Yes, Jim?
Another couple big advantages is when you were talking about making fields, they don't have the ease of what we have with copy fields. For them, when you copy a field, as you know, I ran a turf tank for 5 years. For them, when you copy a field, you literally have to place that field. Unlike when you hit copy for us, you have 4 choices. Theirs does not do that. You have to know where you want that field. And it's a much more cumbersome job to copy fields. It can be done, but it's much more cumbersome. It's not. And then, you know, with our system, if you're copying multiple fields, so like for instance, I did a 4th of July, we did 10 by 10 boost squares for vendors.
Mm-hmm.
I simply hit copy times 10 and we did rows of 10. They do not have that feature either. They can't do multiple fields. I just did a demo Tuesday. I was down with City of Thornton. We had some guys come up while I was there. We literally copied 5 fields across, and they were all 9x9s, and it was like, boop, done. And they're all the same distance, because once you teach it the distance, you know, it's going to keep that. They do not have that feature. To copy fields with a turf tank is about a 5 to 7 minute process per field.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is they can't paint grass that's over 3.5 inches tall. They cannot. I mean, it does not. They don't have the ability, the height of their painter. And if you do, you got to put in a 120 tip to get it to spray out to 4 inches. So you got to buy multiple tips. So if, you know, like here, if we get rain and we're unable to cut, but they still need to mark their fields, with our unit, you simply just raise it up. You know, you get it as high as you can and you're gold. With their unit, you get over 3 inches, 3.5 inches, you're in trouble. You're getting a 3-inch line no matter what you do. You know, like say, unless you change to an F180 tip is what it is. So there's a lot of advantages. Plus with theirs, you have to unscrew, you screw and screw down the height of the unit. So you can't tell where you were before. With ours, you just pop it in the same hole. So there's big advantages that, you know, the simple stuff.
Very good point, Jim. Anybody else? Something to add? Very well. Cool. Base station, still, one of the things is that it's if you drop it, you break it. For instance, we have examples where it has been on the car seat, passenger seat, and when you brake, it falls to the floor, it breaks. In windy conditions, where the base station is placed on a tripod and it tilts, it breaks. And since the price is 3,800 euros for a new base station, is a significant cost. And by using the RTK, that is of course clear for everybody, we avoid these challenges. Of course, you also need to charge it, and as it only has 3 to 4 hours of a battery time, and the batteries are, as I understood when I was working there, I don't know, Costas, if that has been changed, you cannot exchange the batteries.
No, you can't.
No, you still can't. So therefore, you need to go back and charge it. So maximum operation time with the turf tank is 3 to 4 hours.
You can hook the battery up to a moped battery with some cords, and a lot of customers do that, but it's not a recommendation I would give
No.
to my customers.
In rainy weather would definitely not be a good idea either. So if I can underline here, yeah, there is a fee for using the RTK, but there's also a lot of benefits with it. And with our 2 types of pricing, both a 1-year package or everything included with a 5-year package, we can aim towards the market with or without fees. So a lot of good things here with the base station. One of the things that when we really need to be aware of how Turf Tank has prepared the customers is when we are out demoing. Therefore, I have asked Costas to describe how he's preparing for the perfect demo. And Costas, will you take them through?
Yeah, and please bear in mind that this is my way of doing it. Of course, any way can do, but I hope that some of my points maybe can help you do the perfect demo. And if you have some ideas, please run them, send them to me, and I think at some point we'll make a sheet or something with all the points for a good demo. But of course, when you start up, make sure your tablet and your robot is running on the latest software. And I'm sorry to say it, but it's often a thing. And there's a lot of customers and also a lot of distributors not updating the software on either of the things. So I think it's very important that you update. So you always run on the best version. So any bug fixes is clear. Normally, I look at Google Maps, and here in Denmark, we have an additional map service. I hope you have that where you are, but it could be an advantage to look at several map services to locate which field is the best to do the demo at, and agree with the customer before you visit. If it's not possible to agree beforehand, then arrive at least 30-40 minutes before the demo and go through the location for the optimal field. Of course, understand your surroundings, what's the potential challenges, are the trees, buildings, snappings, all things that could create problems for a robot. Check out where they are. Of course, you shouldn't hide from obstacles or challenges, but of course, avoid the big ones in the beginning of the demo. Secure that your RTK signal and your GSM performance is and your setting. All the settings are good, and check if the reception is good, and change the settings if needed. Change the operator if it's a bad area for the one you're using. That's going to help you get the better demo, of course. So normally I do a test drive on the selected field just to see if everything is working. Is it performing good between goal lines or anything? Yeah, Jim. You have a question, Jim?
No, that was from a while back. Sorry.
Ah, okay. I'll delete it. Yeah, but make a test drive just to see if everything's working as it should. That can prevent you from a lot of problems if something should show up. So there. And of course, never if Turf Tank's been there before and the customer is insisting on doing the demo exactly as Turf Tank did it, try to never let the customer or even Turf Tank decide where you want to do the demo and how to do the demo. They need to accept that you're the specialist, you know how to do it, and you know how to show your robot from the best view, of course. And if you have an important demo, please alert the local support. Of course, support will always prioritize demonstrations before other small problems. So just let them know I'm there between 10 and 2. If I call, please pick up the phone. So, or please call back very soon if there is some issues. Of course, include all the advantages you've seen before on the other slides when you talk to the customer, so that you try to eliminate all the sour grapes that Turf Tank's been there with. Of course, try not to mention Turf Tank, but it's pretty hard if they have been there before you, of course. Show the customer how easy it is to prepare a field, even if you have done it in advance. Let them try to lay out a field just on the map, or even with the 2 corners or anything, so they know how easy it is. They need to see it, and they need to feel, okay, the Turf Tank guy was here. I didn't touch his tablet because he knew that if he gave the tablet to a customer, they would go, everything would go wrong in seconds. But if you give them the tablet, try to lay out a field, they'll see how easy it is, and they will be, all of them will be surprised pretty quickly. And of course, show how easy it is to move, resize, and copy. Like Tim said, try copying 4 fields, and they'll see, okay, we're doing a tournament next week with 5-on-5. Oh, it's so easy to copy all of them. We need to have this robot because it's clearly best. And features like technical line, goalpost placement, and etc. show them how easy it is to do, and they'll be convinced pretty quickly. That's just some of the ideas that I have. Please feel free to come with suggestions, or even send an email if you have some, and we will try to make a guide at some point. Yeah, any questions? Yeah, Jim?
I just wanted to make a comment. I went head to head with Turf Tank 4 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
The guy said, well, Turf Tank's coming, so if you want a demo or not, I said, I'll go there same time they're there. I said, I'll go head to head with them. I'll go side by side. And he goes, oh, really? I said, yeah, bring it. I said, I'll go. I ran a Turf Tank 6 years. I'll go head to head. I said, let's see who can lay out a field and paint a field quicker. We were 23 minutes quicker laying out and painting a field.
Yeah.
So because they had it set up there, I said, and and the kid from Turf Tank wanted no part of it. He was like, oh boy, he knew. But the other part that the guy told me after he called me the next day, he said, something I noticed is this Turf Tank was very dirty. He goes, so my crew saw that, and my crew was like, so is it hard to clean? He goes, your machine was clean. He goes, not perfect, but it was clean. He goes, that impressed us, because he said that the fact that he didn't even take time to clean up his machine was kind of a turnoff for us. We were like, wow, like, so is that what ours is going to look like? And he said, me being a supervisor, I don't want my crew to see that. This is a $50,000 machine. You're not going to leave it like that. So, that's something that was a takeaway. I was just going to let the guys know that, it does matter how plus he came in a t-shirt that said, I think he had a heavy metal t-shirt on. I came in a polo. They're like, it's just more of a professional. He said, you look totally different than this kid. And I was like, yeah, because, he's, picking that machine up and getting dirty. I'm not. So.
Exactly. And that's one of the things, the things I've noticed. The year I was at Turf Tank, all of my clothes were ruined, my shoes and everything. Now it's on occasions I get some paint on my shirt or on my shoes, but with the Turf Tank, it was all the time. I always had a cloth with me and a toothbrush if the Turf Tank was clogged or anything. I never bring that now because it's not necessary. The cleaning system and everything is working so perfectly. Of course, you get a little white paint on your fingers and a little bit on your clothes from time to time, but it's a completely different experience.
It really is. I can't stress that enough. It's so much easier. They like the fact that they didn't like the fact that on the Turf Tank, they had a toggle back and forth to move the machine, that they couldn't lay out a field and move the machine at the same time. You have to go tools, you have to go back and forth. And with our unit, you don't have to do that. It's just like the little things, you know what I'm saying? And that
It's
sometimes
designed, yes, it really
we,
is.
we use that super slow speed when we were trying to go right over a dot. And that makes it so easy. The Turf Tank does not have that feature.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks, Jim. Anybody else? No. So Carsten will come back and
Very good. Thank you, Costas. Another way of competing is, of course, what we so much has heard about the new Turf Tank 2. If it's there, we have only heard rumors. Mainly what we heard is that it should have been launched in May 2022. Nothing really happened. The new software was launched. We have heard price indications of 21,000 euros. We have heard 24,000 euros. We have heard 26,000 euros, but nothing concrete of what the cost should be. We also heard that it has the same size. It should be smaller. And yeah, but one thing we know for sure is that they keep on mentioning that they will maintain the base station, which is, as we have talked about, is a big disadvantage. And we also have that none of the Turf Tank distributors we have been talking to, they know any specific details of the product, how it looks, or even a release date. Any comments on that?
Carsten, they told us in the United States it was summer of 23.
Summer 23. So yeah.
That's what they told us sales guys when I was still there.
Okay.
and
So-
I was promised a prototype in February of 22. So it's really been going back and forth. But
Yeah,
it sounds like the distributors of Turf Tank, they're not allowed to sell the old one anymore, and they're told that delivery time is 3 to 4 weeks or something, or even more. And yeah, so it's basically a mess, as it seems. And we should really use that as our advantage and just be on time with delivery and quick in every sense.
Very good. Any further comments or anything want to add?
I have a question. Can we share this with prospective customers?
It is actually only for internal use, also mentioned here. So don't email it, but of course you can learn from all these many good points, and then yeah, discuss it with them.
So
hey, Carsten,
Yes.
one of the things they said, the customer said as well, when we went head to head, he said, you know what we enjoyed was the fact you took the high road. You said nothing bad about Turf Tank. You said, I don't know, that's not my product anymore. I don't know. And you said, but here's my product. And he said, as soon as you left, he was shit talking you, the product, and all this other stuff. And he said, it was a real turnoff for us. He said, you know, it's like going to a car dealer who talks bad about Chevy when you're buying a Ford. He's like, you know, it was just a real turnoff for us. He said, one of my crew members said, wow, this kid's really feeling the pressure.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right on this. It's and we of course not doing this comparing to have you guys running around and talking down about the Turf Tank, but we need to be aware of it and also understand where we have in our sales talk can take the benefits from our product and highlight that, and then have the customer maybe at a demo or at the previous demo understand where the weak points of the Turf Tank is. But once we have these bitter truths thrown against us, of course we need to be able to protect ourselves and our business, and to highlight where we are much stronger.
What I do with these is really, Carlston, is just ask them a question. I mean, do you want a heavy robot? Do you want an extra expense of a base station? Something that would break down on you, have to pay for later? I mean, I turn it in the form of questions to make sure that they know that our product is different, but I don't have to say turf tank.
That's very good point, Curtis. Anybody else?
I've posted a message in the chat for you,
Yes.
if you can read it.
Thank you very much.
Karsten, one point that we haven't mentioned is if you buy a turf tank outright, they push you very hard. First of all, it is a 1-year warranty period. They push you very hard to buy the customer care package, which is $4,000 a year, $2,000 for their recommended paint, the paint they sell, $1,000 for warranty, and $1,000 for service and updates. They push it hard. If you look it up, you can see the customer care package on their website. And it's a real turnoff for guys, plus guys don't have that in their budget.
Very good point. I had a message coming in from Marco from the Expo line here, and he mentions that he has been doing a demo, and there has been a contractor using a turf tank, and they actually did the center field, and it was 18.1 meter instead of 18.3 meters. So Marco went back, and he 2 weeks later actually adjusted the circle from, so it got the right size. So that is a strong point also, that the measures necessarily is not right with the turf tank for the 11 versus 11.
Jim, I was going to say, so there was a turf tank sold in Utah, and they were told that that $4,000 yearly subscription was mandatory. So
pretty much. You don't have,
and that's what
they don't,
and that's what they told the city.
Yeah, they
So,
don't. I mean, you don't have to pay it, obviously, but yeah, if you want a warranty, their unit comes with a 1-year warranty. That's it. No matter what unit you buy.
So does the second year, when you pay $4,000 for the second year, would that give you again more warranty, or?
Yeah, it's $1,000. It's $1,000 a year. Plus, you know, okay. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you buy a turf tank on time, you don't own it. It is a lease, and at the end of your 6 years or however long you do that on, you are required to send the turf tank back.
Yeah, it's only,
so
it's only a rental.
It's a rental.
It's a rental. It's not a lease.
You don't own it. So try that. Try running that by a city sometime.
A good point. Really good point.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Yeah, I was just gonna say. So I've been telling everybody, I'm like, because they've told cities it's mandatory. Like, that's the thing. I'm like, you know, our fees are nothing. It's less than half their $4,000 requirement if you buy their machine. So,
and their sales reps are not telling customers that it's a rental, that it's a lease. They are not telling them.
Yeah.
Good question to ask.
So
yeah. Please come.
My question is, what do we do good with this? Because this is really good information, and kind of like we've highlighted here, we don't want to just be the jerk that points out all these problems, but I love the idea of just asking the questions. You know, do you want one heavier? Do you want one that's gonna break? And do you want, you know, all these problems? Because there's just so many issues once you get into it with them.
Sell
so the
benefits.
question is, like, how can we
selling benefits and features better? You're selling benefits and features. You got it? You just talk about the features and benefits without mentioning turf tank, but really you're shooting them down because the features and benefits that you're telling them turf tank doesn't have, like storing your fields in the cloud, etc.
And which, you know, I think is good, but you still need more. That's not enough. Like, there needs to be more.
Lorenzo, I was a city guy for 21 years, right? I worked for municipalities. We were very diligent. We went, when we had a demo and, like, say we had both of us out, we would sit down afterwards and go line by line for a machine, warranty, everything. You know, you got to give them a little bit of credit. These guys are smart guys, and they're, you know, you're putting your butt on the line, spending $50,000 on something that paints a field. when
Exactly.
in the past you've been spending 8,000. You know, so I mean, I think you just give them your points and just say, check it out. Compare us. Here's our strong points. Compare us. And then
See, and I think that worked for a while, but things have changed now. And I'm noticing that even more. I'm noticing we have younger groundskeepers now, and I'm noticing, like, and this is what I even noticed when I was, at the different universities. We'd meet with the different, fertilizer reps, and then, they'd leave, and then it'd maybe be a Wednesday or a Thursday. And then on Monday, my guys would come back in and they had all these things that they had researched on their own on Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. And they said, hey, look at this, look at this, look at this. And they found, and like, we almost had a second meeting almost a week later. And I started doing that more and more. And we bought a new Kubota or a new golf cart or a new mower. They'd come in with all this information that they gathered from social media, and they would bring it back. And there were times that we actually went completely different after the salesman left because of the information they found
Right.
over the weekend. What I'm saying is, are we doing enough to get this out there? Is there a good way for us to use our current customers leaving Turf Tank to highlight this? Is it worthwhile to find some podcasts? I mean, this is like kind of a new venture where I grew up in a life of emails and texts, and now this new group of groundskeepers are so young. They're coming back a week after we've left, and they have a whole bunch of new information that I didn't even know half these things about some of these chemicals. And so I'm just saying, are we putting enough out there? Is there a way to do this without being the jerk? I don't want to be the jerk. I don't think any of us do here. That's why we like Tiny Mobile Robots, we're transparent.
Lorenzo, this is Curtis. I've been using LinkedIn and posting videos and information that comes from the UK and from Denmark. I hooked up with those guys trying to get more exposure in the US. That's just something I've been doing personally.
That is, of course, a very, very good point, both of you, Curtis, and also Lorenzo. So the reason for this training is, of course, also to make all of us stronger, exactly presenting these points when we are out selling robots. And supported by what we do on the social media, homepage, etc. It is our everyday sales work, outspreading the work once we are doing demos. And by doing many demos and giving all these benefits, more and more will know, and we talk about it. So I think it is important for us, of course, also to be aware of, to spread as much as we can. But you guys also please spread all these benefits.
Something I do, Karsten, is I have my guy. I have Marcus Wood from Highlands Ranch. He loves our machine, and I buy him lunch every 3 to 4 weeks in exchange for if I'm doing a demo and I say, hey, if you want to know, you guys all know Highlands Ranch. They're a huge municipality here. I'm like, yeah. I was like, call Marcus. Here's his number. He loves it. And he said he's actually had guys come down and watch them paint. And they bought painters. Both Douglas County schools and Douglas County both came down and watched them paint after I gave him Marcus's information. So I bought him a round of golf for that one because I sold 2 robots. So, use your people who love the robot is all I'm saying. It costs you a little bit, but that's why you have an expensive guy. You know what I mean?
Of course. Good one. Ruben has a point.
We thought about, or Tiny Mobile Robot thought about, maybe go and be, be on.
I'm sorry, Ruben, I have very difficult hearing you. Will you try again, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, much better. Thank you.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. I have my AirPods on. I was thinking, what have you guys thought about, or have you guys decided whether you were going to do a commercial that could be broadcast, one that could be broadcast to the United States, something I think we're still lacking just a little bit more of exposure. You know, we got a lot of social media. All of us have Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, and we're doing all this stuff. But I think that in the general public, I think that's one key place that we're missing, because we target counties, we target sports clubs, but I just feel like we're right there of getting that buzz out and into the general public. So even people who maybe play a sport but don't have to worry about a field can say, hey, did you see that commercial of that robot painting that field? And I think we're just missing that one little step. So I just was curious if you guys had plans on doing commercial or you know, what kind of things you would be doing towards that.
Very good. Point taken. Anybody else? Very good. Then I will say thank you for today. We kept it within the hour, and thank you for the many good comments, and that so many were participating today. That is awesome. So hopefully all of us will meet again in 2 weeks to another exciting training day. And until then, I wish you all the best of luck and go beat those turf tanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Appreciate it. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carsten, can I have a word with you?
Yes, sure. Of course, Simon.
Obviously, we're struggling in the UK with turf tank, nap of the grass, tree filters. Where are we?
Simon, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
So I'm just asking, what's the update